Your name is?
My name. Sit down.
Yes, darling. Wow. I've been reading your emails. Apparently, I don't know who the fuck you are, but I've heard some interesting things about you. There was an email that you sent out, a blog or schmog, I don't even know what you call it, but you were picking on my hair? Thank you and good night.
Well, I think on the referee said there were 2-minute introductory statements.
Oh, I'm done.
Yeah, take 2 minutes each and then into it. Go ahead, Bob.
Gene, what the fuck is the story that you come to Canadian Music Week and you give an hour advertisement? You couldn't give back. When does Gene Simmons give back? Where he tells people, gives them the insight, helps them out how to make it, as opposed to only being about what's in his fucking wallet. Right?
Well, I will say that this is commerce, that I make a distinguishing line. I distinguish between charity and commerce. I'm here for commerce. I believe in Canada. I believe that the next great band can come out of Canada, which is why Simmons Records is partnered with Universal.
No more advertising.
Sounded like I was done.
We know your story. We heard it yesterday.
Actually, you're not we. You're just one lonely guy who's trying to get attention. It's my turn. Now, so Simmons Records is a joint venture. Notice how good looking I am. With Universal Music and a very powerful and attractive man named Randy Lennox. Now, we have a peculiar notion. And the notion is that every time a camera or a microphone is put in front of me, I'm going to extol our virtues, that we are the home and should be of the next great Canadian band, which should be and could be, and as far as we're concerned, will be the next worldwide band, because there ain't nothing Belfast has that produces you two that you can't have that will produce the next great band. But by the way, I'm here because I have a label. What are you doing up here?
I'm imparting wisdom to people who are trying to make it in the music business, as opposed to trying to open their wallets and remove their cash.
But respectfully, in the parlance and the patois of the street, who the fuck are you? What have you done? What's your qualification to even farting through your oral passage?
I think, as I say, I could sit here and defend myself, but my status and my subscribers are such that I don't need to.
Question unanswered. Question raised. Who are you? What are your qualifications for even being up here with me?
I'm a guy, listen, you invited me, you're the one who reacted to me, so I think that proves that I have a lot of status.
Really? Give him a hand. My question was, what have you done? What's your qualification for having an opinion about anything? Because if it is an opinion, it's all well and good. And it's easy. We all took journalism class in college, and you have to distinguish between opinion and stating all sorts of facts which you're not qualified to do. As an example, if I said, if I'm Bob, what's your last name? Leaflet, what is it? So, it's not a good name. I'm really in this business. You gotta get rid of that thing. I was born Chaim. I got rid of that. That doesn't work. The Jewish stuff doesn't work. It just does. It's not cool. Good for Dr. Lefsetz, my ass
Why don't
hurts.
you tell that to David Geffen?
Last.
You should know, Gene, that the people with the money are off stage.
Actually, that's not necessarily the case. I do well. But I don't know what your point is.
The point is, well, you know, you're talking about the name, and you're giving these low blows, and you're talking about changing. There are many people who did done extremely well, who are household names, with names that don't necessarily roll off the tongue. And the point is, you presently want to be behind the scenes. The question is, what is your track record behind the scenes such that someone should make a deal with you?
I discovered Van Halen and managed Liza Minnelli. What have you done, bitch?
Van Halen was a band that was playing on the Starwood for years and ultimately was built by Warner Brothers, presently managed by Irving Azoff. So if I am an act, why would I want to be with Gene Simmons as opposed to a guy who's had 20 successful acts?
You don't have to be with us. You can choose anything and anyone you want.
But you're selling us. You're trying to convince us. So the point is, at this point in time, why should someone make a deal with a dying business known as Universal Music? Why should they sign with a has-been rock star who's never had success by himself? You want to convince us. Convince us.
Your mommy didn't think I was a has-been rock star. I have pictures to prove it.
My mother has no idea who you are.
No comment. So, look, there's a really important notion here, and that is, what do Simmons Records and Universal Music have to offer new acts? And, you know, in the spirit of full disclosure, we are nuts about this group called Down with Webster. I make no bones about it. We love this band. And the difference, if they sign with us and any other label, is the following. We have access. This has been powerful and attractive rock star can pick up the phone and pretty much get anybody on the phone. They will at least answer the phone. We have a more than even chance of getting them an opening slot on a huge major A-list band. We can get them licensing and merchandising deals that other people can only dream about. I just did a Dr. Pepper commercial that takes the Kiss brand, which now has 3,000 licensed products, and is now 35 years old, maybe, and spans the continent. Oh, I'm sorry. We start the South American leg of our worldwide 35th anniversary tour at Buenos Aires Stadium, which sold out in a half hour, 90,000 people, and we continue to go on and rule the world. Eminem is going to do a campaign with Kiss, blah, blah, blah. So by going with us, we actually have the expertise, the talent, and the access to go and get them a better than even chance of becoming the great next band. And that's why any new fledgling act that really wants to play on the worldwide stage should be thinking of Universal Music and Simmons Records as their home. Period.
You know, no one goes for the opening act anymore, Gene. You're living in the 70s. The fact that you have an opening slot on the tour doesn't mean anything. You need fans. Merchandise is only purchased by fans. So they sign with your label, and you get them this opening slot. What else are you delivering in order to gain their success?
Well, right now you're being filmed by our television cameras, and there's going to be a Brad Schwartz from one of the major broadcasters here in Canada is doing a television special, and the television special might be called Gene Simmons Fan Farm or Ant Farm or something farm, but the idea is going to be that we're going to turn the cameras over to the new fledgling bands, and we're going to showcase them and show the development. So a band...
And you're going to air this where?
Starting here in Canada.
In America, there's 500 cable channels. MTV doesn't play any music. That all went to the internet, Gene.
Well, we're not going to necessarily play music. We're actually going to be broadcasting part of this because you
don't have my rights, Gene.
Oh.
I'm an attorney. I'm like you. If I was represented by Gene Simmons, you know, first you can call Peter Paterno and you can offer a sum, and then we'll talk.
I understand, but once you get in a public forum, you and I both know you give up those rights because equal access.
Gene, I'm a member of the California Bar. Unlike you, I'm not full of shit. And not full of shit. I have qualifications, and therefore you do not have the right to use my stuff in your TV show.
I can't.
So therefore, that's the kind of, if you sign with Gene Simmons and you have a creative issue with your artist, can you imagine having a conversation like that? Well, we don't even agree on the law.
I can't.
Never mind. Gene, are you a member of the California Bar?
I don't drink.
Different question. Are you an attorney?
No.
So then why should I trust your legal opinion?
I make no legal opinions. All I'm saying is that because you've got mass media here, including television from various outlets, we have equal access to everyone.
Listen, I don't want to debate the law whether you're using it for commercial purposes, okay? But the point is, you are an asshole.
Oh, thank you. I think you misunderstand. That was the name of my solo record through Sanctuary. That was called Asshole. But I appreciate the law.
How successful was that record?
It was a bomb.
Okay, why?
I think you were Sanctuary at that point.
Well, why was it a bomb, Gene?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think it was the right songs. I don't think it was the right positioning. There wasn't anybody over me like anybody who goes to training camp. You need somebody who kicks your ass. So I was the master and completely made up my own rules, wanted to do what I wanted to do. And the marketplace changed, and Sanctuary was going out of business, probably. The entire music industry was in flux.
Okay, so the music industry is firmed up now?
No, it has not. Which
okay,
is why
so you made a mistake with your solo career. Gene Simmons only has one name. You can't start over. So someone should go into business with the guy who just had a failure because...
Well, I think my past speaks for itself. I certainly don't have to validate it for you.
That was the 70s.
Really?
Yes, when you had your success. You're touring on the fumes of your 70s, but as far as recorded music success, you haven't had recorded music success since the 80s.
And what's your
When
point?
you took the makeup off and did Lick It Up, which I actually liked.
Thank God. Again, why are you up here? What do you do?
Because you tracked me down and you're spewing shit, you're trying to get money out of people's pockets, and you made the mistake of answering your critics, proving you don't know as much about how the entertainment business works as you think you do.
No, I think that's a misstatement. We're not looking for your money. We're looking to give you our money.
For nothing in return. You're going to give everybody money. Give everybody here $1,000 and I say, go away, never come back.
Well, you have it half right. Tonight we're giving away $10,000, not $1,000.
Could it be with a band named Webster in the name?
No.
Is that your money, Gene?
No, it's Universal's money.
Universal money? How come it's not Universal US's money?
Gee, I don't know, Randy.
No, how come you're not starting this in Los Angeles? Don't you live in Los Angeles?
I do. Don't you live in Los Angeles?
Yes, I do. I live in Santa Monica, to be exact.
In a restaurant control department, right?
Why wouldn't you start where you are at home, as opposed to coming to Toronto?
Well, I think it's a valid question. I was born in Haifa, in Israel, and I came to America to do business there. And even though I live in America, I found a kindred spirit in a guy named Randy Lennox who's here in Canada. And it's two people who decided to do two things, which is to focus on Canadian talent. It's not a good positioning for an American label to go to Canada and use Universal auspices to launch 3 new Canadian bands from LA. It doesn't have credibility.
But if I'm an act, do I want to sign with a guy who's in 3 time zones away?
Well, you know, it's a valid question. I do think that's the first valid question you've asked. And so, pragmatically speaking, I think he's not all hot here. He's a powerful and attractive man. Now, the truth is, notes?
Of course. If I'm going up against the master, you got to be prepared, right?
Now you're learning the ropes. Master's right. So, the real answer, pragmatically speaking, is nowadays distance and area is a thing of the past. Everything is a virtual world, and everybody communicates via cell phones and the internet and on and on.
Could it be that nobody in the States would give you the money?
Well, I didn't try, actually.
Well, that seems kind of, stupid to me. I usually look for money in my backyard before I start looking in a foreign country with a different tax system. You're a pretty, savvy guy, but let's say you sign this act and you get them the slot on the opening tour. Then what do you do to break this act?
Anything and everything we can, and that's not just wordplay. That means you have to go and create your own business model. Not every band is going to want to be Kiss, and not everybody can, because you may not want to read the next REM that pops up. It's not a good idea to do REM toothbrushes or REM comic books. So it's got to be the right positioning in the band for the right place, but everybody does t-shirts. Whether you tear your jeans a certain way just so to make sure you're salt of the earth kind of act, you're still going to sell besides music, you're going to be selling t-shirts and whatever else you think that's credible in your world. We can assist in that area because remember, we're involved 360. We want to be involved in every facet of your career because the old model didn't work for record companies.
Let's say the 360 for a second and go back to the question I just asked. How are you going to make the act successful other than offer things for sale and put them on the opening tour of a has-been band?
U2?
Excuse me?
U2 is a has-been band?
If they're going to go, if someone's going to open for U2, and you have a guarantee, can I call Paul McGuinness and can I say you have a guaranteed slot on the U2 tour? Is that something you have?
No, nothing is guaranteed, but I can
Hey,
call.
well, I know Paul McGuinness. I don't think you're going to get that slot.
Are we wagering? Are we wagering?
Let's not talk about the future that doesn't exist. I know you don't wager with your own money anyway. You'll wager with somebody else's money.
Look, I believe that if you say what you mean, you should mean what you say. And I respect that what you said you meant. I can or cannot get, for argument's sake, Donald Webster on the next U2 tour.
All I said was, to be very clear, you said you had guaranteed. What I understand now is it's not guaranteed.
I didn't say that. I think you can roll back the tape. Folks, did I say guaranteed?
Okay, then let's just accept. No, I do not want to bet about it. I want to know how you're going to break the act. So far, you haven't told me anything that coincides with the century that we're living in.
If you roll back the tape, you'll see that one of the first things we're going to go see a band called Stereos that had a name change. They were called Turn It Up, and may change their name yet again. One of the first things they're doing is they're going to be seen on nationwide Canadian television in a, quote, reality show, the development of the band. So most bands don't have access to their own television shows, much less the attention of media in the first place. The other thing I can do bluntly is use the bully pulpit that I have, which is to pick up the phone. And by the way, Bob Ezrin sends his regards from China.
I heard from Bob today.
Yes. Did he spell putz the same way that he spelled it in my email?
No, he spelled it S-I-M-M-O-N-S in mine.
Correct spelling. But we will use any and every tool that we have at our disposal, and that's what everybody should do when you get in business with somebody, because it's got to be a team effort. The band has to do whatever it has to do, show up on time, do the hard work that's needed, do all the media, show up at some place they have to be, and when we think that they're positioning themselves wrong in the marketplace, we're going to tell them, there's a problem here, The drummer's not happening. You got to change this guy. Do whatever it needs to do to make this band happen. I'm ready for this conversation. Go, Bob.
I just have not heard anything that doesn't apply in 1975.
I think some basic principles do apply.
I agree with those things. But the changed reality in 1975, yeah, you signed with a major label, they gave you the money, you got it on the radio. We're living in a completely different world, and I don't hear you addressing that.
I thought I did. One of the first things you're going to get is mass media.
A reality TV show, we've been proven that anything that is instantly successful is instantly unsuccessful. Whether it be Vanilla Ice, O-Town had their own reality show. Vanity Kane had their own reality show. They can't sell a single fucking ticket, and they were on TV every day just, recently.
But Gene Simmons has their own reality show, and we saw it in stadiums.
You were Kiss before you had the show, and you've been doing it for decades. I applaud that. That's why you have the success. That is the new model. But you're trying.
Are you suggesting that the bands shouldn't have access to television? They shouldn't do that?
It used to be that all publicity was good publicity. That mantra is no longer correct.
I disagree.
Fine.
So run Lefsetz records your way, and we'll run Simmons records my way.
Yeah, but you've never had any success. If I was sitting here with somebody who broke 5 acts, I would say, maybe I'm wrong. But you have never broken a successful act.
The big mistake I did was acting ethically and not owning Van Halen.
Okay, but let's just even give you Van Halen. They say the mark of a great manager is someone who can break 2 acts. So even if we give you Van Halen by your fakakta reasoning, okay, where's act number 2?
We'll find them together with
Yeah,
Universal.
we'll find them. It's 40 years. 40 years, Gene.
I don't know what you do, but you do it very well. I have no fucking clue what this guy does.
When the Eagles put out their album last year, okay, which was one of the top 5 most best-selling albums of the year, how many people worked at the record company?
Who's right? You're being icy with
The Eagles. How many people worked on that company?
Well, you're correct. And Kiss is going to be doing that model, which is doing a deal directly.
So it's good enough for Kiss, but it's not good enough for them.
They can't afford it. New bands need Universal to be their mom and dad.
Maybe they need Irving Azoff and Ticketmaster and Live Nation. Maybe they don't need Universal.
Well, it's a free country. You can go and try to make a deal with Irving or anybody else. We're telling you that new bands need as much help. I said this before in my keynote speech yesterday. Our point of view here is we're going to treat our new bands like newborn babies. We're going to make sure they have as much of a chance of success as possible. And if they think they can do it out on their own by trying to make direct deals with Best Buy and somebody else, good luck. We think it's a bad idea. But we do think it's probably a good idea if you are, I don't know, the Eagles or somebody else that has a fan base, you might want to go direct and do your direct deal. But record labels are in a state of flux, and I will tell you one thing, Universal Music is dedicated to breaking new acts. I will tell you, my hand to God, that Randy was upstairs with me. That's the guy over there, the good-looking guy with the glasses. And we were just talking about stuff, and I said, there's somebody very important I have to meet. He said, I have to drive out of town for an hour to go see a band because I promised them that I'd show up. That's the kind of record company you want on your side, fighting the fight, day in and day out, and that's Universal Music.
That's why you want somebody like Zach Horowitz, who sued his customers and lost 45% of his business. Those are the kinds of people you want in your back pocket today? I don't think so.
Then don't do it. You don't have to.
I know,
when you make your record.
As you well know, I'm not a recording artist. I'm not trying to be a recording artist. So we're not talking about me in particular. We're talking about the populace, the people who are musical acts. If you look at Rihanna, after her #1 hit, Umbrella, It's not 1965. She could have the #1 hit, and most people have never heard it. She had to tour clubs. No one wanted to see her. It's a changed marketplace, Gene. And I don't hear you saying anything other than we're going to have mass saturation. You know, if you look at network TV is predicted to go out of business. If you listen to Les Moonves, if you listen to those people, because not enough people are watching. So you just basically want to have a supernova. You can do something and be overnight, be on TMZ and Perez Hilton and be forgotten tomorrow. You can be lucky to be working at the burger joint. I don't hear you addressing those issues.
You know, I remember when I went to college, and my next door neighbor had a little dog. It was the loudest fucking dog. This thing would bark 24 hours a day. My roommate had a big dog, never barked. Little dogs bark the loudest. I remembered when I was growing up, I hated hippies. You know why? Drop out, this system fucking sucks. Okay, maybe you're right. If your point is the system sucks, my only question, what's your alternative business model? If you think record, sorry, I'm not done. If you think Universal Music doesn't have an answer and can't help a new act, what is your business model?
Well, first and foremost, Doug Morris went on record in Wired magazine that they didn't have a plan and they didn't know what they were doing with the internet. So therefore, we have some proof there to begin with. What Irving Azoff is doing, and I'm not being paid from whatever, is he is taking the power and putting it in the hands of the acts so that labels don't tell the acts and don't abuse the acts the way they have done historically. That is, you know, you've had limited success, so we will beat you up. Universal Music has a long history of telling the acts what to do and taking the most money. Is that good for acts? No. That's one of the reasons why we have a revolution. The other thing, Gene, is you cannot be noticed. It's almost impossible to be noticed. You know, some of the most successful acts going are from Canada. The Arcade Fire, who didn't do it with a major label whatsoever. And based on their raw quality, hey, listen, they're not really that good looking. Nobody knows the name of anybody in the band. But they sold, you know, 500,000 records. Will be more successful than any act that probably is ever going to sign to Simmons Records. Okay? They didn't do it your way. So when you tell me there's
You're really good, but I couldn't disagree more with anything that you said. Look, there's a simple idea here, folks. He's a terrific rabble-rouser. He can get on a soapbox and just go on, and he'll attract a crowd. I don't hear a lot of substance. I'm not telling you this is your only option. We're telling you that we're passionate and believe in the artists we're going to be involved with, period. And somebody from the peanut gallery who's never done anything except peanuts is always going to have something to say. We need people that sell peanuts. It's important, and let them have their say. I don't dilute anything. Robert, I don't dilute whatever this guy's name is. Anything he says, go on, have your say. Have people circulate your emails and schmeemails. It's all wonderful. I stand by every word I said, and it's the following. Simmons Records, in conjunction with Universal Music and Belinda Stronach, is committed to launching the next 3 bands, the next 3 Canadian bands worldwide. If you don't want to sign with us, don't.
Gene, how are you going to, you said yesterday you're going to make a new Kiss record, just so I know, because, you know, the little rabbits follow the big leader. How are you planning to sell the new Kiss record? Direct to Best Buy and Walmart, and make the best deal we can. Okay, and then will you be success? You know, what are your terms of? What's your definition of success in that project?
We don't have one. We don't. Our ticket sales don't depend on record sales.
Is it the guaranteed income, like with Guns N' Roses, and the record doesn't sell anyway? Is it about getting on the radio? How will you define success in your deal with a major retailer?
It's difficult to answer that because I've been successful for 35 years. You mean, how do you define the success of the album?
Yes. What are you looking for? What are your goals? It hasn't happened yet. I'm not saying it can't happen.
That's a good question. Let me get back to you on that. You said something interesting in this email. This whole thing started when this guy wrote an email that was forwarded to me, and it was fascinating. And then I read some of the other stuff he said about U2, that Apple is cooler than U2, and
I stand by that.
Really?
Absolutely.
Why?
Okay, what is the definition of a rock star? A rock star is someone who follows his own dream, is not abused by the corporation, and connects with the people. Steve Jobs.
Who said that?
Listen, this is my definition.
Oh.
Just hang in there with it, okay? Steve Jobs is a guy who played by the rules, hired another guy, John Scully, who ran Pepsi. They squeezed Steve Jobs out. Apple goes down like this. Apple comes in, he's a notorious person who's in search of quality, does it his way. They came out and says, the iPod is $400, nobody wants it, too expensive. The iPod rules music, okay? Apple iTunes Store, nobody wants it, it rules it. When they do their commercials, everything is cool because it's only has to do with them. They don't do what people tell them to do. They don't put out the information in advance. Their stores are better than any merchant. People have a religious affinity. A great act, and you should know Kiss, from Kiss, Gene, is that has a religious affinity with their act so that the people will follow them and give them their money anywhere. So you can look statistically in Business Week, Forbes, Apple's got the #1 cred, the #1 brand. People say that acts are brands. Yes, Apple is very successful. U2 just sold half the number of records they sold 4 years ago.
My turn?
Yes.
You just did something very ethical, and I want to commend you on it. You said, this is the definition of a rock star, my definition. Therefore, nothing anybody can say can dilute that because it's your point of view. You see, my contention with guys like you in the media, I think you're the media, is simply that you don't distinguish between your view and quote fact. Here's what I mean. By the way, I disagree with your assessment. Not that it's incorrect, but that it's not all-encompassing. Elvis Presley, perhaps the biggest rock star of all time, was told what to do, where to go, you're going to be singing the song. He was totally under the thumb of Colonel.
In the 50s.
Well, I didn't know you were talking about. Well, it's okay, then I'll go by your turn. Look, any definition anybody has about anything has variations. There are some artists who are just wild cards and will do whatever they want to do, and they become rock stars. I don't know, Kurt Cobain. But between you and I, I'm not really going to blow my head off just to get on the cover of Rolling Stone. So, I mean that in the nicest. Oh, you don't like that? That was a choice. Yeah.
We promised the gang 30 minutes. CFW's got some other stuff to do. You want to take like 5 minutes to wrap it up?
Sure. Please.
2 minutes.
Finish your point. You're in the middle of the point.
I have no point except any rule that any one of us, you, I, or anybody else, puts on the table that says this is what the rule is. There are exceptions, and all of us can show what that is. We want to get back to the main thing. One of the criticisms that I got from this gentleman is that I'm here to shill for Simmons Records and Universal Music. You're goddamn right I am. That's why I flew across the United States and up here to Canada to make sure that you knew that we care about the artists we want to be in business with, and yes, we want to make money for the bands and for us. Otherwise, it's not worth doing. I have something called a fiduciary duty. I have to make sure that the money that Universal puts on the table that's going to help this band go out there and do what it's going to do is going to come back. The old days of, here's the money, you never have to pay us back, does not work. The death knell of the record companies is highly overrated, and there's no reason why we can't rebirth the entire record industry, and this time, it's got to be done together with the bands and the corporate structure. Together. No more suits, no more finger pointing. You've got to do this together because we both depend on each other.
Thanks, Gene. Bob? closing statements?
I believe the music industry is healthy. I believe we're at a turning point, and the major labels have helped bring along the downfall. More people own more music than ever before. The only problem is they haven't paid for it. The main reason they haven't paid for it is that major labels have not charged for it. In every facet of media today, the number of eyeballs directed to the top is thinner than ever before. So it's about the mass, okay? If we look at the business at large today, it's more about being on the road. That does not mean that people will not pay for music. I believe that's imminent with things like Spotify, which I talked about yesterday, which is already legal in 8 countries. But recorded music will just be a part of the overall system. So one of my beefs with Gene, in addition to the fact that I thought his mission here should be more than just a shill, is to give an accurate picture of what is really going on today. It's not record company this, it's record company, manager, agent, promoter. And if you're giving up all of your interest here with a guy who's going to throw a really long ball, the odds of success are very low. The key is to build your grassroots, to have fans. Everybody here knows more about the internet than Gene. The key is to ultimately have dedicated fans. Dedicated fans will provide things that are better than money. They'll put you up at their house, they'll let you fuck their sister, and they'll